Meghan Sussex didn't say much, and that is exactly why the message landed so loudly. Late on Friday night, while the royal commentariat was busy recycling the same tired talking points, Meghan quietly posted something deeply personal on her official Instagram account. No press release, no interviews, no coordinated rollout, just a moment intimate, unscripted, and unmistakably real. A photograph from 2016, a video from 2026, and a caption that bridged 10 years of love, survival and growth. When 2026 feels just like 2016, you had to be there. Cred, our daughter. Let that sink in for a moment, because this wasn't just a post about romance. It was a statement about continuity, about resilience, about choosing joy after everything they've been through. And perhaps most importantly, it was a reminder that while institutions freeze people in time, real love evolves and endures. The first image Meghan shared was instantly recognizable to anyone who watched Harry and Meghan's documentary. Botswana, 2016. Two people still learning each other's rhythms, laughing, holding on, unaware of the storm that would one day surround them. That photograph has always mattered because it represents the moment Prince Harry himself described as the turning point, the instant when everything suddenly felt right. They had only met twice. And yet there they were, heading into the African wilderness, living in a tent for 5 days. No entourage, no palace buffer, no safety net. Just them. Harry later explained that Botswana stripped everything back, no expectations, no performance, just presence. And for someone raised inside an institution that controls every variable, that freedom mattered. What Meghan did by reposting that image wasn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It was context. Because the second half of the post, the part filmed in 2026, tells us something just as powerful. The video is short, black and white. No filters screaming for attention, no luxury branding, no grand production. Just Meghan and Harry dancing in their garden, barefoot energy, soft laughter, a quiet kiss. And then the reveal. The camera wasn't held by a professional, a PR team, or a documentary crew. It was filmed by their 4-year-old daughter. That detail changes everything. Because suddenly this isn't content, it's memory. This is what their child sees when she looks at her parents. Not tabloid villains, not public symbols, not fractured narratives, but two people still choosing each other, still moving in sync, still playful, still safe. And that's the part some people are uncomfortable with. Not because it's inappropriate, but because it directly contradicts the story certain voices have spent years trying to sell, the idea that this marriage is fragile, that Meghan is controlling, that Harry is trapped, that their happiness is performative. This video doesn't shout, it doesn't clap back, it doesn't explain, it simply exists. And that is precisely why it unsettles critics. You can argue with words, you can distort interviews, you can spin headlines, but you cannot easily dismantle joy that isn't asking for permission. Timing matters here. January has always been a loaded month for the Sussexes. Just days before this post, January 8th marked 6 years since Harry and Meghan made the decision that changed everything, stepping back from senior royal duties. 6 years since they chose autonomy over obligation. 6 years since they stopped asking for understanding from a system that refused to give it. In that context, Meghan's caption hits differently. When 2026 feels just like 2016. That's not coincidence. That's reflection. She's saying that after the lawsuits, the smears, the exile narratives, the security battles, the accusations, and the so-called downfall, they are still here. Still laughing the same way. Still connected the same way. still rooted in the feeling that started it all. That is not a failure story. That is a survival story. Notice what Meghan didn't do. She didn't tag brands. She didn't reference royal titles. She didn't invite commentary. She centered her husband. She centered her child. She centered a private moment and shared only enough to remind people that love doesn't need defending. That restraint matters. For years, Meghan has been accused of oversharing, even as far more intrusive narratives were written about her without consent. This post flips the power dynamic. She controls the frame, she controls the timing, she controls the meaning, and she does it softly. This moment also belongs to Harry. Recent headlines have pushed the idea that he feels caught between two worlds, that he's torn, restless, missing something. And maybe two things can be true at once. You can grieve what you lost and still be grateful for what you built. You can feel complexity without regret. What this video shows is not a man desperate to go backward, but a man grounded enough to honor where he came from without being consumed by it. The boy who fell in love in Botswana didn't disappear. He matured. He became a father. He learned what it costs to protect peace. 10 years later, he's dancing in his garden, not because everything was easy, but because everything was worth it. There's also something quietly radical about the fact that their daughter filmed this. A child growing up not inside palaces or protocols, but in an environment where affection isn't hidden, where laughter isn't rationed, where love is visible. That matters especially for a family relentlessly accused of dysfunction. She didn't film a performance. She filmed normal. And that may be the most threatening thing of all to those invested in chaos. Predictably, reaction pieces followed. Some framed the post as calculated, others questioned motives, a few implied manipulation. But here's the truth. If Meghan didn't post, she'd be accused of secrecy. If she posted too much, she'd be accused of exhibitionism. If she shared joy, she'd be accused of provocation. There is no version of Meghan Markle that certain critics will accept because their discomfort isn't about her behaviour. It's about her agency. And this post is agency personified. What we're seeing in 2026 is a couple no longer performing survival. They're living. They're not asking to be understood by institutions that already made up their minds. They're documenting life on their own terms, selectively, intentionally, lovingly. When Meghan writes that 2026 feels like 2016, she isn't denying the pain in between. She's honouring the thread that carried them through it, the feeling that told them early on that this was right, that this was worth protecting. And maybe that's the real message, not defiance, not nostalgia, but reassurance. To themselves, to their children, to anyone who's ever had to choose love over approval. That the beginning still lives inside the present, if you nurture it. Before we wrap, this is worth saying, you don't have to be a Sussex supporter to recognise the humanity in that clip. You just have to be honest. Two people, 10 years in, still choosing each other. That's not a scandal, that's a story. And Meghan told it in her own voice without saying much at all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.